What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Partially Cultured Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron, and with me as always, are my co-hosts, Isaac and Alan.
How's it
How's it going, guys?
And just wanted to give a reminder to everybody to follow our partiallycultured.com webpage. You can get all our social media links at the bottom of the homepage there. Information about us, if you want to leave any comments or emails or anything, let us know what you guys want to hear about, and we'll try to get to those. Speaking of which, I want to shout out to John Lombardo. He commented on one of our videos, the Deja Vu video we did, and he said it would be cool, to have one on dreams. We've talked about it, and we think dreams is a pretty interesting topic as well. So that being said, today's topic is on dreams. So, Isaac, do you want to tell everybody what dreams are?
If you haven't had a dream, well, I don't want to say there's something wrong with you, because there are people that supposedly have not had dreams or don't dream when they sleep. I don't know if they've never had a dream, but
So,
I don't think we need to define what it is. I think everybody knows.
When are you technically dreaming? Is it like in your certain REM level or something?
So science says that you always dream when you're in REM sleep, but that's one of my bullet point facts. You forget 95% of it. So, I don't know. I mean, I can't say that's true or not, but that's what science says. So,
well, I think that's because you're typically in the deepest part of your sleep during the REM cycle, right? So that'd be like the last half of your night should be in the REM stage.
Yeah. So basically, the human body spends like 6 years in dream state during its lifetime. So, I mean, that's on average, obviously. If you die young or die really old, I mean, it's different. But on average, about 6 years in a dream state. My big question about dreams is, why do we have them, right? And
what's happening?
The most common theory on that is, well, first let me say, when you're asleep, your brain is actually more active than when you're awake. And the most common theory about why we dream is you go throughout your day and you see all this, you're intaking all this stuff,
all the stimuli,
everything, whatever it is, faces, sounds, labels, logos, whatever it is. And your subconscious takes all that in. And when you dream, your mind is so active, that's when your body's at rest and not taking anything else in. It's your mind's way of kind of filtering through the chaff. What do I need to keep? Where do I need to put it in the brain? Etc. So
sorting it.
Yep. So that's the most common theory of why we dream. It's just our brain's way of storing the data in our hard drive,
or getting rid of the stuff we don't need.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
That would also explain why people that don't have sleep, or that have very little sleep, they get all fucking loony. You know what I mean? They go you go crazy when you don't clear your mind. I guess maybe that's part of it.
Well,
your brain is making connections between things and storing it. It's basically synapses are firing and placing that information into categories and associating them with other important parts in your brain. So, I mean, it has to store that information with something that's I guess important. If it is a certain level of importance, it has to associate it. So it's doing that in your brain while you sleep.
Right. And there was a cool study that I saw where they deprived mice of getting to REM sleep. And the way they did it is they put them in buckets, but it filled up the water about this deep. And then they put a little container that was just about that much higher over the water, but it was only like as big almost as big as the mouse. So the mouse could stay on it and go to sleep, but it couldn't go to REM sleep. Because if you go to REM sleep, in REM sleep, that's when your muscles lose their tone and everything. You can't move. So when the mice would go to REM sleep, they would fall into the water. So they denied them REM sleep for I can't remember how long, and they noticed that their memory, their short-term memory was garbage. They couldn't remember anything. It's so like what it led them to believe was, say I pick up a new guitar song today or something, and I learn it, and say I don't sleep tonight or whatever, or I have really crappy sleep and no REM sleep. Tomorrow, I'm not gonna have real good memory or cognitive ability to play that song. It's because it didn't get stored in my hard drive.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Oh, that makes sense.
Interesting study. Well, I know that like when I was a kid, I would get really frustrated with a game or maybe a puzzle or something like that. And my dad would say, "Hey, you need to sleep on it. Go to sleep. Tomorrow you'll figure it out." And I remember numerous instances. I mean, I can't remember specifically at this moment, but like maybe I was playing, a game on Sega or Nintendo or something, and I couldn't get past this one level, and I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up the next day, and I'd be able to do it. And it was like almost not even a challenge the next time I did it. And I think that when I was sleeping, my body, my brain was figuring out how to solve that puzzle. And maybe that's being done in dreams. I mean, maybe we're dreaming out all the possibilities, like maybe I'm playing that game in my dream and I'm finishing out each step and learning how to do it without the actual, stimulus in front of me. I'm doing it in my brain subconsciously.
Well, that makes sense.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. So would you guys like to hear some interesting facts about dreams?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So faces in dreams are always someone you've seen before. You may not know it, or you may not know them, but it's always someone you've seen before. Every face in a dream is familiar.
I swear I've had that can't be right, because I swear I've had dreams where
Yeah, we talked about that.
I haven't met.
We talked about that though. Subconsciously, you've seen them somewhere. That's what the science says.
Maybe someone that looks similar to them.
Or that. I mean, but it's always familiar faces.
Alan Domus.
Okay, I mean, we can go that route.
And
but
and
but I mean, if you think about it,
meeting them.
Okay. You may be
You
may be the exception to the rule, but
this doesn't apply to prophets, I guess. Apparently, so.
Yep, that's true.
So that being said, well, Nostradamus never said, hey, this guy that looks just like this, so I mean, it could have been familiar faces, but they were carrying out acts that he hadn't seen.
Yeah.
So like I could see you in my dream, Isaac. You're a familiar face, but I could see you, starting a forest fire or something that burns down half a state.
I mean, I would never do that, but
well, I understand that, but it's always familiar faces. This one I found pretty interesting. You can't read in dreams because reading is a conscious activity and dreaming is a subconscious activity.
I don't think I've ever had a dream where I remember reading anything.
So we'll get to some stuff here in a little bit, but next time you're in a dream, when we talk about lucid dreaming here in a little bit, you can't read. You can't see yourself in a mirror. It's just a blur. You can't even read a mechanical clock in your dreams. So if you think back to any dream you've had, you will not find any of those things because it's apparently not possible.
Yeah, when I recall dreaming, and I lucid dream quite a bit, or I think I am lucid dreaming, I don't it's almost like I'm not an invisible person. Like I'm there, obviously, but like I never notice like any part of me really being like in existence during that moment. It's like
I've had dreams where like I see myself in a mirror, but it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody else, or someone that looks similar to me, but it's not me. So that's interesting.
Like I would say,
like
there's almost like a void where I am when I'm having the dreams, even though I know I'm there and doing stuff in the dream. Like I'm like if I was to look down at myself and my body or something like that, like it wouldn't exist. It would just be a black hole there. But almost like if you were
That's
like
interesting.
You know, like when you have those when you go on Google Maps and you have the Google car and the Google car's taking pictures of everything around it, but if you like try to point the camera down at itself, like at the car, it doesn't show anything. It's kind of blurred out. That's kind of how I see myself in dreams now that I think of it.
Yeah, it's yourself. You're out of focus, basically.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Don't know why, but I thought that was interesting too.
That is pretty sweet. That is
Men and women typically dream different. So
what do you mean by that?
Men will typically have more aggressive or hostile type dreams, where women will have more emotional type dreams, like walking down a beach in a sundress, or what their wedding is going to look like, and where men are more inclined to have dreams that involve, getting in a fight at the bar, or, some kind of sport or firearms, something that's more aggressive along the lines.
I'm guessing sounds like guys would inherently, because of the fact that they're constantly having these aggressive dreams, they're more likely to have like nightmares or like things that aren't necessarily pleasant to be experiencing. Like,
well, I mean, I think it's direct correlation really to the DNA of men and women.
Yeah.
I mean, it's built into our DNA to be aggressive and, the protector, and we think about different shit on a daily basis. Like us three, we're thinking about, okay, we got to pay the mortgage. We got to, make sure that the kids are taken care of and the wife's taken care of, and our alarm, company is, the best one, so it keeps our family safe. And, we think about typical stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying there's not women that don't think like that, but typically during a day, it's different types of thinking. Women may think, and this is not stereotyping, it's just facts. They might think about, their lunch date they're going to have with their girlfriends this weekend, or, whatever, or their kids, what are they going to fix their kids for dinner. It's not as hostile of thinking.
I wonder if that's not based on what we perceive as masculine and feminine in our culture, though.
Yeah,
I think.
because like culturally, the constructs of what we consider male and female are like changing even nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like women are entering the workforce more. They're being more independent. They're a lot of them are holding down their own households. Like I wonder if that will impact the dreams that they have.
I don't think so, because again, it's still built into our biology. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, we're typically the physically dominant species, and in reality, women are more the mentally dominant species. So
or sex,
yeah. I mean, it's not species, but sex. That's the way it is. I mean, people can twist it and change it and do whatever they want to with it. I mean, will it change the way their daily thoughts are? I mean, maybe to a degree, but I don't think that's going to inherently change what's deep down inside your DNA. I mean, it's hard to change biology.
Yeah, I would be curious if there was like a flamboyant feminine guy having dreams about playing football like I do. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's also like cultures in the world where like they weren't super masculine focused. Like they might have been more like the female. It was a maternal society versus a paternal society. So like maybe in those cultures, because they evolved differently, because they had a completely different outlook on what was the lead role and what was not the lead role, or maybe if they were more peaceful and less aggressive and less combative and stuff. Like I wonder if, because if we're talking about it being a physiological thing, and they weren't exposed to those things that need would have evolved them to need to be more aggressive or more warlike or whatever, like would they be less likely to have that?
Well, even in matriarchal societies, I don't think the women are out there fighting the wars and stuff for the battles.
Sometimes what if let's say I'm not I'm not well versed on every single culture in the world and the history of the entire planet. So like, let's say hypothetically, let's say there's a society where there's females that were, fought along with the men.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like they were just as much the warriors as the guys. And then in that sense, like they would have it in their DNA, right? Like over generations and generations, and they would evolve to be different than
Potentially, I guess
like
it would also depend on what common ancestors do we have in that regard too.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that I think any college student that may be listening to this, that might be a good thesis, or a good study to do. If you can
Because
interview 100 people from
yeah.
different cultures and ask male and females what they dream about. I mean, I think it might be very interesting to find that in one of these maternal societies, if or sorry, where the women are fighting wars and stuff, if they dream about lacy gowns and walking through meadows on flowers or whatever, and they're all like, why the hell am I dreaming about that? Just because it's built in and it just can't be changed. But I don't know. I mean, it may play a part on how your society, and
I'd be interested to know. That's something. Yeah,
might be a study we need to do.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's men and women typically dream different according to the science. Premonition dreams do happen. We've talked about that. The one you had, Alan, with the person that showed up at your house. You're like, wait a minute, we've done this before, and this is the first time I've met you. So just remember, subconsciously, you've seen that person.
I don't know. I don't think I have. It might have been some. Here's the thing with that situation. Let's say hypothetically, I did see that person before at some point in time. It's still crazy weird that I expected them to be at my house with that particular person they showed up with, on a date with the same scenario, same thing going on. Like it was like way more to that dream than just
I mean that part's super weird, but
yeah.
I find it pretty easy to believe that everybody in a dream you've seen. I mean that. Just think about when.
Yeah, because you could be in a store.
Yeah, I mean think about pre-COVID. I've been alive 47 years. How many stores, bars, movie theaters, racetracks, whatever, amusement parks. I've seen a ton of people in my lifetime. So, I mean.
So, even somebody that you don't think you've seen, like, let's say if I was trying to lucid dream somebody new that I've never met before, like, oh, my future wife. Like, I want to just picture who that would be, and I just like throw a face in there, even though it's random and like I don't think I would have recognized it. It's somebody that I probably have seen in my life.
Not probably.
That sucks because I want to see my future wife there.
Not probably. You have at some point seen them,
but that's only for the normies.
The normies, not the prophets.
Not the prophets.
No, not true. We talked about that a minute ago. Prophets can see whatever.
An exception to the rule.
But whatever happens in that prophet's dream, it's happening with people that he's familiar with.
No. It's possible.
Mm-mm. All right. You're going against science.
Someone they don't know.
You're going against science.
Yep.
Can't do that, Alan.
I'm going against science on this.
Can't do that, Alan. Science is always right. All right. So, I mean, there's more interesting facts about dreams. That's just a few of the ones I picked out that I thought were interesting. Um, so, I want to segue into lucid dreaming, which really is my personal interest with dreams. So, anybody that doesn't know what a lucid dream is, it's basically a dream where you can control your dream consciously. Basically, you're in a dream, but you can do whatever you want. If you want to fly or turn invisible or whatever, you can consciously make decisions while you're in a lucid dream. So,
Yeah. My brother did read a whole book on this stuff, and he was a psychology major, and he's got into a lot of psychological stuff, and one of the things he got into was dreaming. And I remember him specifically saying there was a bunch of tactics and techniques and
which we will be going over shortly.
Okay. All right.
So, I don't know that I've ever had an experience of a lucid dream. I can't recall off the top of my head any time that I knew I was in a dream and I made conscious decisions. There have been times I knew I was dreaming, but I can't remember any conscious decisions I made in that dream. Like, I want to fly or whatever.
There's been times where I thought I might have been dreaming, and then I did stuff in the dream that I knew weren't real, or not possible. But then I did it didn't click that it was still it was a dream. It was like I know that what I'm doing. I'm let's say, and this is not a real thing, but let's say I think I'm dreaming. Let me fly, right? And it's like, yep, I'm flying. That's okay. That's normal. You know what I mean? It didn't click that was the thing.
That's right. I can fly.
Yeah.
So then you have that inception moment where you had to test yourself whether you're not.
Yeah, but the test would have proven that I was in a dream, but it didn't click that it was a dream still. You know what I mean? So it was it felt like I was
oh no, I normally
making
fly.
something happen.
That didn't work.
Yeah,
right.
So I don't feel like it's the same thing as lucid dreaming, because I feel like lucid dreaming, you're totally aware, I'm definitely in a dream and I'm gonna make things happen. But it's I made it happen, but it wasn't. It didn't click that I was.
You might have
it was weird.
Just been barely lucid dreaming at that point, then, just touching the barrier. For me, I didn't think that lucid dreaming was an odd thing. That's pretty much all I ever remember. If I have a dream, most of the time I have had a lucid dream. It's not a rarity for me.
Oh, Mr. Special Isaac can just control his dreams.
I didn't know that other people couldn't control their dreams for a long time. In fact, it was probably when I was in high school when I figured that out, when other people couldn't control their dreams.
People don't really talk about their dreams. You know what I mean? It's not something you just talk about on a regular basis.
I do.
Well, I mean,
dreams all the time.
I do with my kids. My kids all the time will tell me.
I know, maybe not.
But you're usually telling them what happened in the dream, not that you're controlling it and doing this and doing that or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, typically,
right. I guess you're right.
Again, not to stereotype, but in a male society like we are in, we're always giving each other shit and stuff. So, we don't talk about those things at work or whatever. Dude, I had this dream last night that you were in. You'd be like, why are you dreaming about me? You gay? What the hell? Why you blah, blah, blah? Giving you shit like that. So,
right.
You're right. I mean, dudes don't usually talk about shit like that.
Well,
so
maybe women are more prone to talk about their dreams.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like there's also common things that happen in dreams that I don't know. I've had dreams where my teeth all fall out, and then there's a saying in my culture where if you have a dream where your teeth all fall out, that means someone that's close, someone that is gonna pass away or something like that, and then that shit will happen, someone that I know will end up passing or something like that. And it's depending on how painful the teeth falling out is how close they are to you, or how much pain you're gonna be in when that person passes. So I wonder if there's other dreams that are shared dreams, shared types of dreams. You know what I mean? Things that are common.
There's a lot, actually. I mean, if you look at like dream interpretation stuff, there's a lot of, I mean, anything you can think of. I mean, whatever scenario. If you go look it up on Google or whatever, on what does this dream mean, and there's an explanation. Now, that being said, there's always multiple that I've noticed. It's like, I have a dream that I'm falling or whatever. You go look that up, and it's like, well, it could be that you have a lot of stress, or you could be anxious about something, or you don't know what's going to go happen with this situation. There's always like 5 or 6 different things, and you're like, well, that's not really interpretation. That's just common sense. I mean, you know what I mean? Right. So, in my mind, the jury's still out on dream interpretation, but there's shared stuff like that you'll see. What does like drowning mean, or falling, or
I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a legit thing that if we were to actually like study more, might actually be something you can actually pinpoint, because like it's kind of weird when we're all basically the same creature, right? So we all like you said, we're physiologically, biologically very similar. So like it wouldn't be crazy to think that the way our body is processing this stimuli and getting rid of it and making junk or whatever it may be and processing stuff would be somewhat similar. So like if we're all having relatively similar experiences, like we're all living in a first world country or whatever, and we have similar things going on a regular basis, like we're bound to have similar experiences and similar stimuli to other people. And if we're all processing it the same way, it wouldn't be weird to think that we have these shared dreams for very similar reasons, right? Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. I mean, and I'm curious if I don't know. I didn't read anywhere about this, but if dreams, if they tend to increase or change based on like events happening in your life, like if you have a good event happen, like you're getting married or whatever, and then do you have a happier dream, leading up to happier dreams leading up to that? If you have a traumatic event, you lose your job and it really affects you. Someone dies. That stress, does it change the way you dream during that period of grief or separation or whatever?
I remember, and we talked about, I can't remember which episode it was, but we talked about how like we're constantly taking in stimuli, and that sometimes we might be picking up on something that we're not consciously aware we're picking up on. It's like, what if we're like picking up on like body language or a smell or like a behavior that someone's doing or something we saw, like and our like consciously we're not aware of it, but subconsciously when we're sleeping, our brain's like, this person has all these little things that makes you think they're gonna pass away or something like that, and like there's a good reason for it. You're just not aware of what the reason is, right? Because you didn't pick it up on it consciously.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like they have like cats and dogs that can sense whenever there's a different, like a state change in a person. Like they have dogs that will know when somebody's about to have not a stroke, but like a
seizure
event or something like that.
Yeah.
They can smell or they can detect some kind of difference, right? And if we can smell that, but like subconsciously, we don't. I mean, actively, we don't know what that is, but subconsciously, maybe we're picking up, like you're saying, Alan. Maybe we know that the last time we visited this person, that they had like literally the smell of death on them, like they were about to die.
I wonder if the body produces pheromones that are different. When things like that happen, because if dogs can sense it, they have to be able, and they're dogs' biggest thing is smell and sound. I wonder if everything linked to smell.
I know that we produce different, like your breath is even different when you have under stress, or when you have, let's say you're running through the woods and you've got a different smell there because of your the adrenaline that's pumping through your, and stuff like that. You're expelling that differently. Mosquitoes can latch onto you based on the carbon dioxide output, but also because of the smells that are on you and stuff.
Well, I mean, I know there's huge studies that have been done by like cologne companies and stuff to, because pheromones, you want, attractive pheromones to the opposite sex,
Exactly.
So that's what they're trying to produce. So I know that's a thing. I'm just wondering if like death or whatever has its own particular pheromone. Just does a seizure have its own pheromone? You know,
If it's it's
So
enough
go
for
ahead,
them
look
to
at
detect it for a dog to understand it, then I think that there's probably something to it.
Yeah.
that's another study.
There has to be.
It's another study, college kids. Anybody that wants to do a thesis on that, what is smell? Is smell linked to changes in the body? Um, can you sense events if you can key in on those scents?
So the whole thing we were talking about earlier about the lucid dreaming thing, like what's the point of trying to learn to lucid dream or like trying to control the lucid dream?
I don't.
Because like if
I don't know. I haven't read if there's like a benefit if it helps your mind think more or store more information or whatever. Um, I mean, if I had to say what would be a benefit of lucid dreaming, it's just freaking cool. I mean, to be able to fly
like
over the
here's
ocean or whatever if you wanted to.
Some people use it for
but
like
like
a
let's say
meditation type of thing, like a meditation
Oh,
purposes.
I did read one thing that dreams also, during when you're dreaming, it it refreshes creativity. So I don't know if lucid dreaming, boosts that. Maybe there's studies out there that say that it boosts creativity, and people will use that to try to boost creativity to invent something or
so
what.
like because like if dreaming is our subconscious trying to make sense of all of our stimuli and like piece it together and then get rid of all the junk and all the stuff that's important in there, and then you start figuring out a way with your conscious mind to do techniques to override that, right, and like control things and change what's happening. Are you in effect interfering with that process somehow?
That's a good question. Or I mean, or are you stimulating it?
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
mean, is it?
I
Yeah.
don't think that okay, so the brain is not only doing like clearing stuff out, it's also solving problems. And if you're actively making these changes, then maybe that's related to something that you're trying to solve, like a problem that you're trying to solve. For me,
But if you just sit there like, I'm gonna fly, it's gonna be cool. It's like, yeah, that's not solving shit. That's just you fucking with the dream,
yeah,
like maybe
But
taking time
I
away
think it's cool.
from what you would have been working through consciously.
but I think that it's a conscious level of your subconscious dreaming. It's not going. I don't think it's going to interfere with that per se. Uh, I've had
Uh,
lucid dreams, and I've had like dreams that I could just recall where I've actually solved problems in my personal life, or even like world hunger and all these other things. Like things that people think are too big. Like I don't remember what they are anymore. Like as soon as I wake up, and there's ways that you may be able to do so, but I've solved issues, and sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I've got a new topic for podcast or whatever, or I've got you know I had a resolution to a problem that came up at work or something.
that that
It's
may
just
be another.
it's me like creating, like when I've done that, a lot of times I'm just reenacting events that happen either at work or at home or whatever, and I'm thinking of creative ways to fix that issue or to solve those problems. But that's me, and I'm more of like a analytical type person, not as much a artistic person. So maybe somebody that has more artistic, background or like brain makeup, maybe they think of more, creative things when they're thinking.
That's actually not that horrible. That's actually really good. So like if you think about it, like there's lots of stuff that makes me feel like we lost, like humans as a species lost the function to be aware of all of everything that like our full capacity of what our brains are like capable of, or is like broken or like got disconnected somehow. So like stuff like shit like dreaming and how our subconscious work, like the whole concept of us having this entire other thing that's happening in the background that we're processing all this information and data and like stimulus, and then like we have the ability to tap into that somehow, or like smelling death or whatever, like or like maybe being like we it's like we I wonder if like at some point in history we actually did have the capability to be conscious of the subconscious. Like the subconscious was no longer subconscious. It was part of what our normal day-to-day life. Or like what if we're supposed to do something like how these folks are doing with like messing around with subconscious, learning how you control your dreams and lucid dreaming and all this stuff. And like, what if like if we had some way to do that more efficiently, more accurately, it would help us like deal with stress better, be less depressed. Like what if that's like a part of like our spirituality or something? You know what I mean? Like us finding a connection with the us inside of us or something, like with our subconscious. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be. I'll be the first person to tell you I don't know everything about dreaming or anything else.
Because like you think about you sleep so much, right? Like people sleep
30 of your life,
or whatever. Yeah, and it's like it's weird that you're sleeping a third of your life, and then you're having this entire different life, during your dreams, that's essentially just fixing things or doing things, and it's like shit, man. Like, what if that's like experiences that we have the ability to have access to? Like we don't forget it if we train ourselves to not forget it. You know what I mean? Like, and that makes up because we have these additional memories to pull from. We lived more, and like you're dealing with things that you're doing things you can't do in real life. You're experiencing things you can't experience in real life. You're dealing through things and data that you subconsciously were aware of that you weren't even aware of when you're awake. So it's like you open yourself up to an entire different like type of life. You know what I mean? Like things that you are being experienced and thinking and seeing that you weren't even aware of.
It's almost like it's the metaverse in your own brain. You can do whatever you want,
but it's also like super introspective in a way, right? Because it's like it's on top of the fact that you cannot control everything, you're also thinking and seeing and doing things that have to do with information that you've seen or aware of but weren't aware of. Like it's a subconscious shit, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're aware of it in your subconscious and you can now interact with the stuff that your subconscious was aware of that you weren't aware of, it's like you're getting a whole different lens on your entire life.
Yeah, if you could see it clearly. I mean,
but what if that's a thing? What if like
it could be?
Yeah.
We could just be on the cusp, of just.
Oh, what if that's a skill that we used to have, or like maybe that's like some old shaman, woman or whatever used to like train us, like this is what you need to do to control this and blah blah blah.
I think I remember reading
who knows, man. Like shit, I don't know.
Even though you had like, let's say like you had an experience where you thought you were lucid dreaming for like 8 hours or something like that, but in actuality it was like 5 minutes or like maybe 2.5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And you just didn't know. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is something maybe it's a tool like that we should be using that way, or maybe we could have used it that way. Maybe only certain people have that though, because a lot of people don't even lucid dream or don't recognize that they have the ability to lucid dream. So,
because like, think about that. Like, let's say you got super good at it. Like, you become like let's say it's like anything else in the world where you have to practice and do it over and over and over and eventually you do your million hours and you become a master, right? And now you're like spending years in this dream world when in reality it's seconds or minutes in the real world, and you're fixing issues and solving problems and coming to all these crazy, like complicated fucking things that people in the real world think you're like a genius but it's really like, nah, I've just been working on it in my dream world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because I trained myself to be able to remember these things, I can take the stuff that I've worked on for years in this dream world out into the real world.
Yeah, but if you told anybody that, they think you're crazy. So
yeah, but it's like, I don't know, something to think about.
It's definitely something to think about. I mean, maybe these people.
Like, maybe I should be looking at.
Maybe Einstein and Newton. Maybe all these people did
just naturally
have a way
doing that.
to invoke lucid dreaming. So that's where they came up with all this crap that they came up with. So, I'm sure that's happened where people didn't say, "Oh, I dreamed it," because they want to take the credit for being, super smart, and their subconscious was, what solved the problem. But
Well, even
so,
philosophers have like stated basically that they have that aha moment. Like it just makes sense all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well,
the aha moment itself is your subconscious, like clicking into place with your
exactly.
with your
And most
conscious.
likely they were working that through when they were dreaming, or sleeping.
They're dreaming.
I'm usually on the toilet when my best thinking's done. It's not lucid dreaming.
Oh, okay. Well, we can't all be I guess.
But. All right. So we've talked about
enough culture.
We've talked about dreaming. We've talked about lucid dreaming. Now let's talk about how to lucid dream. If for anybody that's interested, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 techniques that will help you lucid dream if you choose to do so and mess up your whole subconscious.
Potentially.
Potentially. Disclaimer: this is for entertainment purposes only. And if you
We're
mess
not
up
responsible for any damage to your brain during such
if your subconscious is jacked up after you do this, it's your fault. So, number 1, keep a journal next to your bed. Anytime you wake up after dreaming, immediately write down everything you remember in your dream, because 5 minutes after you wake up, you pretty much forgot everything in your dream. That's what science has shown. About 5 minutes is what it takes to forget almost everything you dreamed about. So keep a journal by your bed. Write down, everything you can remember immediately when you wake up before you do anything else. Number 2, keep a sleep schedule. Stay away from any kind of, electronics, your phone or TV or anything like that 30 minutes before bed, and avoid caffeine and alcohol in the evening time. So your body will get used to the routine and will eventually, at that, about 30 minutes before bed, it's automatically just flips the switch and your body goes into that relax mode so you can fall asleep faster and get into REM sleep faster. So that's number 2. Number 3, follow a reality testing system. And what that is the goal is to increase the awareness of your own thoughts. So basically what some of the common things you can do is throughout the day, look in a mirror for any irregularities, watching the time on the clock, make sure that time is progressing normal speed.
During the
normal day while you're awake and you're awake in reality. Another one is, just taking your finger and pushing on the palm of your hand, just to make sure that it's solid and you're not, a black hole or whatever. You're not a blurred out. What this does, if you do them while you're awake, it prepares your brain to do it while you're asleep, thus gaining the lucidity. So basically, if you're constantly testing reality while you're awake, when you go to sleep, your brain is going to be like, I need to test reality, thus giving you control of your dream. So the mnemonic induction technique. As you're falling asleep, focus on a previous dream you've had. Try and pick out something about that dream that felt surreal and set your mind on returning to that dream and visualize becoming lucid within that same dream you've already had. Also, a part of that is you can try repeating a mantra when, as you're falling asleep. Something like, when I dream tonight, I'll remember what I dreamed. So it's more focused techniques, on making your body get into a routine to do these things. Last one is the wake back to bed technique. So it's to trick your conscious brain into staying active as you re-enter REM sleep. You can start by setting your alarm clock for like 5 or 6 hours after your bedtime. Wake up at your alarm in the middle of the night, whenever that is. Do something for half hour to an hour, reading a book, something that takes conscious. not like scrolling TikTok or anything, but something that you have to focus. So like reading a book for 30 minutes to an hour, then go back to sleep. If it works, then your conscious mind will remain active even as your body falls back into REM sleep. And that's something else that can trigger a lucid dream. Yeah. So those are the 5 techniques I read about.
I would say that you probably don't want to forcefully wake yourself up before you go into REM, but if you wanted to do a lucid dream, that's probably the best way to do so. To force yourself, like you're saying, into that state. I don't know what the effects of that would be. It doesn't sound like it'd be a good thing.
Again, disclaimer. If you scramble your brain.
Okay. So what was the number 4? You said basically stop.
Well, back on the number 5 one, I think that might be in direct. What's the word I'm looking for? When something's against something else.
Contradiction.
Yeah, I mean that's like a direct contradiction to having a sleep schedule. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess not. I mean, because you're going to bed every night at the same time.
Well, you need to sleep a certain amount of hours in order to get into REM sleep. Because if you don't go through the alpha, beta, wave, progressions, whatever in your sleep, you don't get to the REM stage. So you have to. There is a progression there. Your brain has to go through. You can't just jump right into REM sleep.
Oh, but what you were asking
beginning of the night.
Right. What you were asking though.
Induce REM? Is there any way that induce REM? Like,
I don't think so. I mean like I said, I think you have to go through stages.
Well, I mean, that number 1 thing or number 2, the sleep schedule and stuff, you're kind of doing it that way because you're giving your body a routine to get into it faster. We're so amped up. I mean, like I can almost bet you when both of you guys lay down at night, you're on TikTok or YouTube or the news page or Facebook or Instagram, you're Reddit, you're doing something before you put the phone down and immediately close your eyes. So 30 minutes before, turn the shit off, and get your body used to, winding down at that time. And, another couple of things were like keep your room dark and cool. Which I think most everybody does. Mm-hmm. I like my bedroom like a meat locker when I'm sleeping. So, but anyway.
I've done the lucid dreaming thing where I've basically at the end of the night, like when I know I'm about to wake up or when I hear the alarm go off or whatever, I'm telling myself to save my spot. Like basically you're doing like a Nintendo save.
Man, doing a save game?
A save game. And then, like, the next time I go to sleep, then I remember where I left off and I can continue from it. I've done that before.
That's pretty much, that's that 4th one.
Yeah.
Right?
I've done that in the past where I've just told myself, hey, I'm saving my spot here and then I'll come back to it later. I've also done it where you've just kind of thought about the events that happened in that previous dream. Like, I remember, a tornado or something and I was running away from it. I don't know why you'd want to remember that, but then I would induce that. Like a similar dream, if not the same dream, basically occurring, and then me advancing from there.
Well, you're on a different plane than me and Alan. You're advanced lucid dreamer.
That's what I'm saying is like I've done that since I was a child, and I thought that was just normal. I thought people could just do that. Now, remember I was talking with you guys last week. I didn't know if that was just me not sleeping and me just daydreaming the entire night, or if those were actually lucid dreams. Because it was happening so much, especially when I was younger.
I don't know. Could you touch your palm?
See, I didn't have those totems. I didn't go through all those stages, but of like testing myself. But
like an Inception,
I can definitely recall being like Inception. I was able to kind of bring up things, do things. Sometimes my brain would fight me on it though. Like I would say, "Oh, I'm here reading a book," and then I look down and I'm not reading a book.
You can't because you can't read it. Dreams.
Story. Well, yeah, maybe that's the case. Instead of
I'm
doing something else.
You hit the GTA wall when you tried to read a book, and your brain's like, "No, you can't go that way."
Now knowing that, I'm going to go back and try to do that in my dream and see what happens. But
you can't do it.
But like, let's say I'll say to myself, I'm banging on this drum. And instead of banging on the drum, I'm like strumming a guitar or something. I'm like, no, banging on a drum. And then I'm like playing hockey or something. You know, it's like, why
Wow,
are
you
doing this?
really have an inner fight with yourself at night, Isaac. I don't know how you sleep at all.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering. Like, if being in that REM state in a lucid dream, if I'm actually sleeping at all at that point, or have I come out of REM and I'm maybe actually in a different stage at that point?
I very rarely remember anything. I feel like nowadays, because I like a lot of, I feel like nowadays I'm like, I go to sleep and I am out. Like I am like knocked the fuck out. Like the only thing waking me up is then me having to go pee or someone shaking the hell out of me. Like I am like a
So
log.
we got to go
You know
back
what I
to
mean?
number 2. Avoid alcohol in the evening.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Well, but there is truth to that. The caffeine and alcohol and stuff, they will mess with your actual sleep progression. Like you don't go through the same
Yeah.
cycles that you're supposed to. So that will keep you from getting to that REM stage as quickly, and you may not even get into it at all. Also, if you're awake all night dealing with the kids and stuff, I don't think you're going to be seeing those lucid dreams as often because
Yeah.
your brain is trying to recover so much.
That's true.
I don't know you're going to be.
How much time are you supposed to go? How much time do you have to sleep to get to REM sleep? It's like a time.
I don't think
it's like each phase is like 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, right? I think by the 6 hour stage, I think is when you're usually in REM.
Really?
I don't know. I think it
crazy.
depends on the person and all kinds of different factors because I know like if I take a nap sometimes during the day, I dream. And if the majority of your dreams take place in REM, I mean, I get there in 15, 20 minutes.
I didn't mean REM. I meant lucid dreaming because I think lucid dreaming happens at the end of the night. Now, I could be wrong.
Oh, that I don't know.
I could be wrong on that, but I mean, that's what I recall. But REM is like an hour and a half to 2 hours into your sleep in general. Could be faster for some people because that's when your eyes start doing the rapid eye movement. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
that means that you're dreaming.
Yeah, that's right.
That usually happens pretty quickly in your like an hour and a half in, I think.
And I wonder if you pop somebody's eyelids open while they're in a dream, if you can actually see the dream. I'm guessing probably not.
I doubt it.
Okay,
maybe there's a
so maybe unrelated.
Scan there,
but they have they recently tied a bunch of sensors to somebody that was dying or in the process of dying to see if their brain activity would show them dreaming or something like that. And I think it's inconclusive right now, but because they don't have baseline images of what the brain was doing before their death, but it was fairly active, and there was 900 minutes of activity in the brain while they were dying, basically related to the memory and recollection of memory happening in the body. So
I can't remember where I heard this, and it's completely out of left field. But like, I heard someone say like it was like some like one of those like crazy theories or whatever. But like when you're dreaming is like when your like soul or your consciousness like jumps into another life. So like another version of yourself on a different plane, and that's when they're awake and they're living. So like when you're sleeping, your whatever whatever people consider their soul is awake in another plane.
I mean, it's very possible, and then it takes a while just to leave here.
And your dream is the tiny bits that you can recollect from that time that it was awake in the other plane.
Maybe. So, all right.
Or what if the dream world is the afterlife, or when we have the ability to interact with the afterlife, like another Like if there's another dimension, right? What if that's when like our brain is able to interact with it?
I don't know. Another good college thesis. So let's bring it home. Land this plane. As usual, we don't know shit about dreams. We don't know what causes them. We don't know, why you have dream what you dream. But that's
Really
why
know
we're
how to
here.
control them. Some of us
That's
don't know how
what.
to control
That's why we're here to enlighten everybody on the shit we don't know either. So, any last thoughts on dreams, Isaac?
No, but if you're interested, use those techniques that were produced there and give it a shot. See if you can do a lucid dream or get expert at that, and then let us know what happens after that.
For entertainment purposes only. Alan, last words.
You know, it's actually it was a lot more interesting of a topic than I expected it to be, and like now I'm like legit like have my mind kind of running and jumping around like what if all this shit is like what if you like can control your dream and like live a whole extra 30% of your life like fixing things and solving things and changing the way you perceive things and like your entire what like your level of perception and like I'm like man might be kind of cool to learn how to do this shit. Like, what if what if you like put in your time, you train yourself, and it's like any other skill, and now you're able to do all this cool shit, man. It's like, man, we've been fucking around, we're missing out,
I just want to.
missing out on 33% of our
I
life.
just want to fly. I'm good with that. I have low goals.
I'm thinking, I'm gonna, might be looking into this.
Yeah, there's plenty of resources out there for it. So
It will scare
anybody
me
that
if
wants to
lucid
do it.
dreaming happens all night because it's felt like I've dreamed for 8 hours before. I wonder if I just wonder if lucid dreaming is not sleeping, because if it's not sleeping, then that sucks. I'm just not getting any sleep at all. But
Yeah,
that's true.
All right, so that was dreams. If anybody wants to make comments, feel free to do so. Something we missed, something we need to add, something we might need to do another episode on. Do some more research. Let us know. Check out partiallycultured.com and our links at the bottom of the page, our YouTube channel where we video all these podcasts, all that good stuff. Till the next one, see you guys.
take it easy, guys.
See you guys.